in Los Angeles Unified School District during the early 2000s, there were nearly 73,000 suspensions a year. 90% of them were students of color. And it was a very contentious environment. And so when we started working with NESRI, this notion of this being a human rights violation really woke up the sleeping giant in our parents. Most folks were focused on test scores and college access, which is incredibly important. But no one was thinking about policy regarding the kids who were falling through the cracks and pushed out in the learning process. And that, at the time, was a very risky fight to start.
After youth and parents and educators put a spotlight on the violations that were happening in their schools, it changed the conversation.
It brought together many, many folks who have been looking for a new way to fight this battle. And so that actually helped lay the groundwork for what became the Dignity in Schools campaign.
And now NESRI with Cadre is part of this growing national coalition of over 90 organizations from 24 states that brings together youth, parents, educators, and advocates all working together to end school pushout. And Cadre pioneered this parent-led human rights model for the work. Now school districts are responding and working with communities to put in place positive approaches to discipline like restorative practices and positive behavior supports. And that happened because young people and parents stood up and fought for their right to education and talked about the ways that their right to dignity was being violated.
But today, you know, it's a long haul fight. It's systemic change. It is for everybody. And that seemed impossible back then.
The core conviction that informs our work, that defines our mission, is that human rights must extend into the economic and social sphere. That you cannot have a society where families are going hungry unnecessarily, where people are sleeping in the streets, where schools can't educate our children, and say that you are protecting the human rights of your people. NESRI is a multi-issue organization. The power in that is being able to connect the dots across these different problems that communities face. From the day we opened our doors, we've been working with grassroots community organizations across the country to build an economic and social rights agenda.
The three key parts of that agenda are strengthening public goods, advancing equity and justice, and building power.
NESRI is working with our community partners to build a society where communities' fundamental needs are met and where communities are shaping the policies that guarantee their rights to education, housing, healthcare, and work with dignity.
After all, we come together as communities because we cannot fulfill those needs as individuals alone. And we seek to build the political and economic structures that help us meet those needs and respect, protect, and fulfill our human rights.
We believe that the best way to create change is to work with communities that are most impacted by the injustices of our day.
We are aiming for long-lasting, deep partnerships with groups that are doing the day-to-day deep organizing.
The Vermont Worker Center launched the Healthcare is a Human Right campaign in 2008. When we started, a lot of people told us we were crazy. The political will wasn't there. We had not really used human rights before that. And one day, a couple of months into the campaign, I got this call from Anya from NESRI saying that they wanted to help us. So we set out to organize a grassroots campaign all across the state using a human rights framework. First, to put the system on trial, to show how right now it does not meet the needs of our communities. And in fact, when you add up all the stories of how it impacted families and individuals, that we had on our hands a healthcare crisis. And then eventually we had a tremendous rally at the State House on May 1st, 2009. The next year, we were able to pass the first bill, Act 128, that put Vermont on course. And we were able to move that momentum forward to pass Act 48, which is the groundbreaking law which puts Vermont on course to having universal health care in 2017.
We've heard so often that universal publicly financed health care is not possible in this country, and yet we're now at the verge of launching the country's first universal publicly financed healthcare system.
And now these other campaigns are happening that NESRI is supporting. Now, we're on to something, and we're going to win it in this country. We're going to win it because we're connected, because we're building a broader movement, And the fight right now in Vermont is about healthcare, but we're very much building also a movement for immigrant rights, for workers' rights, for the right to a healthy environment and a livable planet.
Yo empecé trabajando en el campo a los 17 años. Yo he vivido el pasado de lo que era la industria agrícola. Y gracias a Dios hoy estoy viviendo el presente y el futuro, viendo el futuro que hay dentro de este acuerdo por comida justa para llegar a ver realmente un nuevo día dentro de la industria agrícola. Se creía imposible que podríamos ganar. Pero yo creo que también cuando juegan los roles iguales, todos juntos por una misma causa, podemos llegar a ver los resultados que estamos viendo hoy día. Básicamente lo que queremos lograr con la campaña por comida justa, básicamente es que la última persona que va a saborear ese tomate esté segura que ese tomate esté libre de esclavitud, esté libre de acoso sexual y que el trabajador que lo cosechó está ganando un salario digno para poder dar una mejor vida a su familia. Creo que la relación que existe entre la coalición y NESRI, que lo más importante que ha hecho funcionar esto es el respeto mutuo. La gente de NESRI nos ha escuchado, la gente de NESRI nos ha entendido y podemos combinar esas dos, la experiencia personal con lo que NESRI nos puede ofrecer, es lo que nos ha abierto las puertas para poder echar adelante el trabajo de estas comunidades como la nuestra, comunidades pobres, para nosotros básicamente crear esos puentes de comunidades pobres con la gente que tiene poder económico, con la gente que tiene los mismos problemas que nosotros.
NESRI will continue working with its community partners so that we can expand the politically possible and build the kind of democratic, human rights-based, and equitable society that we all deserve.
Yo creo que podemos crear una economía con dignidad para todos los trabajadores.
I believe we can flip the way we make public budgets to put people before money.
I believe we can ensure that every human being has access to clean, safe, and healthy water.
I believe we can guarantee stable homes and communities for everyone.
I believe we can establish a universal, publicly financed healthcare system for the entire United States.
We believe we can transform our schools to support the full development
of every young person.
Of every young person.
Of every young person.
Of every young person.